What's up, everyone? So I want to do some advanced stuff with CSI today and your control surfaces. Since the last videos I've done, I got these two things, which is the Behringer Xtouch Mini. I highly recommend these things. Are really nice. 16 buttons and 8 pan rotaries, and one fader. The fader is not motorized, but it's also got 2 layers, so basically your 16 buttons becomes 32, your 8 rotaries becomes 16, and then 1 becomes 2. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the pages, because I kind of barely touched on it, but pages are a very basic concept within CSI, but it's very, very important. So I basically have I have 2 pages set up here. So let's take a look at what those are. I've got TCP, which is the track control panel. Then I've got MCP, which is the mixer control panel. And so what does that mean? Well, if you look, I've got basically the same thing here in both in terms of what's listed. Okay, and the reason for that is because I really want basically the same controls. I want different views. So I have a button here that is mapped to a function called Go Zone. All right, and I will talk about that here in 1 second. So with Go Zone, I have TCP, which is this view right here. And what this does, this is a custom action. Okay, it does a couple of things. One, it changes the page to this page. Then the other thing that it does is it sets the screen so that my project is full screen. All right, instead of it being zoomed in, right, if I'm like working on something here or there, if I push this, it zooms me back out. So show me a DAW that does that with a 2 setup custom action from 2 different sources. I have the CSI function inside of CSI, which is, I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere. And then I have a Reaper custom action, which is, inside of Reaper itself that I made to do something specific. Okay, so that's one page. All right, now if I go to my next page with the touch of a button, my mixer view shows up with all of my mixers, all the effects, and then also the surface reflects what's on screen. So oftentimes when I'm editing, there's a lot of stuff I don't want to see. I don't want to see all of the effects return tracks, right? I don't want to see all of the buses, right? Because I'm here and I'm doing editing. So when I'm in this view, I'm doing editing and arranging of items, and I really just want to see the items, and the only things that are not items are the folder tracks, and those have its own waveform view that reflects what's in the tracks, the child tracks. So that's important for me. Plus it's got the metering that I want while I'm in this arrange view. Okay, I just point out the concept that you have these 2 different views, okay, and the surfaces reflect whatever your workflow goal is. Now, this could be anything. Maybe you want to have, say you're doing tracking and you want to have all your tracks that are record armed or something like that, or you want to have like in this view you don't see it, but what I have it kind of hidden here, and these tiny collapsed tracks are my these are my cue sends that go to the headphones, right? And so that gives me the ability to, oftentimes vocalists, they don't want to hear themselves in their headphones, so I can just turn them down. Whoop. So that works out very good. The point is, you can have whatever view you want. The surfaces can react based on pages, okay? And in my case, I have them identical because I still want all of these same functions to work no matter where I am in the project, no matter which view. My functionality really doesn't change. It's only basically the control surface reacts to it, whatever I'm viewing, okay? So here I've got access to all of the tracks. All right. Oops. So all of the effects sends are here. I have them labeled a certain way so that exclamation point is going to mean it's an effects return. If I have a folder, it's going to have the little caret sign, little greater than sign. And then if I have parentheses, that means it's a bus. Okay. And so all my buses are here at the end, and they're in this view. But in this view, I have them in brackets. Those are my headphone cues. All right. That might apply to you, it might not, but it helps correlate what's on screen without having to look up at the screen so much, okay? There is something about setting up your control surfaces, especially when you have multiple surfaces and they should go in a certain order. Okay, the other thing that's really important is when you've got something and you want to, okay, if you've got an 8 fader device and you want to add another 8 fader device and you want them to go in a certain order, you have to put the one that you want to be first, and the next one to next. So if you look at my previous video, I actually had these reversed, and I had the XS, which is the extender, was before the ProX as how it was defined inside of CSI, okay? That's really important because that's how, otherwise this would be track 9 and it would go 9 to 16, and then this would be track 1 and it would go 1 to 8, which wouldn't make any sense. So that's how you can set them up to go in specific orders. All right, so I'm inside of my Reaper folder here, and I'm going to go to CSI. I'm going to go to zones because there was something I wanted to bring up here, and that is setting up. And you can do this for any button, any function, only where it makes sense, and it's, I guess it's not going to be conflicting. So in this case, I mentioned that I have the MCP, the TCP, they're different pages. So in the case of the TCP, you see here is the button, and there's the parameter or the command. Go page TCP, all right? That's specific to CSI. Now, the other thing I have for the same button is my custom action that changes the screen, okay? It changes it to, it changes the screen set and it resizes it, all right? And that's basically what it is. It's a screen set and then it's resizing to fit the whole project to the screen. And then I have the same thing for the other button here. This is the name of the button the way I've defined it inside of another file, and this is the command that I'm giving it. So here, then I have the mixer control panel, which is the mixer, and it changes the screen set to that particular screen set, whatever that is. I have it set up somewhere else, but the point is all I have to do is hit one button and it does a couple of things. And then I can give you another example, which I'm not using anymore, but it was very helpful. Now, I mentioned that I have a headphone controls set up here, a headphone kind of cue mix that I can mix, and then it goes to a headphone out, and it goes to the headphones. And it's also the talkback. Before I changed my talkback setup, which I have a video on that, I had my talkback here set up inside of Reaper, and I had another custom action that whenever I hit record, it would unmute, or sorry, I would normally be unmuted. I would talk to the client. We would say, okay, are you ready? Yes. And then I hit record and it automatically would mute that function. I hit record and it would automatically mute that track. So the talkback would not interfere, all right, which would bother them, obviously. I have that commented out, and then I have the same thing, and it was a toggle, so as soon as I hit stop, it would unmute the talkback, and I could talk back to the client again. And if I hit play, it would mute it so that the talkback does not interfere and cause a feedback loop and all of that stuff. So I had that set up. I don't have it anymore. I have those duplicate actions commented out, but it is just something that I thought of. How can I achieve this goal inside of Reaper and with CSI? And that was a way that I came up with to accomplish that, to help. Because oftentimes I forget that the talkback is on, and, you know, it just gets very annoying. So that was a cool way that you can use this setup to do, you know, solve some problems for your studio. So lastly, I wanted to tackle FX mapping. And we're going to do this thing here like real time. All right. All right, guys. So the last thing that I want to show you, because I know this is the part that is very, everybody wants this, and that's how to set up FX parameters. So I'm going to go ahead and do some on my Xtouch Mini. Because I've got some stuff that's floating here that I'm not really using, and so sure, why not? So you're gonna do it with me. I will show you it. This is because it's still in the beta stage, but it's good to understand how all of this works, because that part hasn't really changed at all. And even when we do get the learn functionality, and if you don't know what that is, this is the learn functions, and they will work. So you will be able to just kind of come in, pick a parameter on screen, hit a button or a knob, and then it will map. But it's not set up yet. Until then, let's just learn about this, okay? So I do have something mapped here already. I'm going to show you what that is. It's this. I have it mapped over here so I can change the strength and the crush, blah, blah, blah. I was using this. This is a great plugin, by the way. I'm not necessarily using it anymore for whatever reason, but I do recommend this plugin. This is a nice plugin for kind of that fat, you know, transformer-y sound. Okay, but I just wanted to show you that because the plugin that I want to do, because I'm going to be using this in the future, is reinsert. And I'm not sure if this is going to work, but let's try it, okay? So we're going to just reset everything there. Now remember, this works only for the, you know, if I do not have the track selected, this will not work. But as soon as I select the track, oops, then we can float the plugin and then it will work. Okay? If the track is not selected, all right, if I select off screen, it's not going to work. As soon as I select the track again, I lost the plugin, but you'll just have to trust me that as soon as I select the track again, it's going to work. All right, now reinsert. I want them to map on these knobs. So far, nothing happens yet. So we're going to fix that. Now, the first thing, okay, that we're going to do is, because some of this stuff is very specific, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this file here. Okay, let me back up. First of all, you need to have the zone file in with your zone folder for whatever surface you want those controls to work on. So I'm going to be working on the Xtouch Mini 2. This is Mini 1. This is Mini 2. My Mini 2, I showed you already, has like the TCP and the MCP buttons, okay? That's to get this thing to work, all right, with those. Now, in that same folder is where I have the plugin mappings, okay? And because the syntax and the commands are so specific, I tend to just take what I already have, duplicate it, and work on a duplicated thing. Let me show you what I mean here. Okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to hit Control, and I'm going to just make a copy of that. Okay, now I'm going to rename this. There's some important things to note here. In fact, we're just going to do it like this. Okay, so you need to have it say the exact same thing as it's listed in the VST name. So we're going to call it VST no colon reinsert Kakos. Okay. Don't change anything else because this is already a zone file, so we need it to be a zone file, so it's good to just kind of copy it. All right. Now let's open it up. We already have it as a selected track navigator. That means whenever I select it, this thing becomes active. Okay, so it's important to not have overlapping things, meaning not have two zone files using the same parameters, unless, you know, I talked about that already. But it's important to not do that with the effects plugins, because things will get messy. All right, so we know we want to change this. We want to change the parameter, and I wanted to do 1 and 2. So let's change this to 1. And if you don't know what this thing is, you'll have to go back to my previous video that talks about the buttons and how they're set up and how you can modify them to do what you want them to be and how you want them to be labeled. But basically, I showed you that that plugin was on the last two, which is 7 and 8. I just changed them, to 1 and 2. Okay. One of these I'm commenting out because I'm not using the push. I'm only using the actual rotary. Now, this is going to be the parameter index. All right, so what's the parameter index? I'm not quite sure, but it means it's basically, if we change the UI from this thing, the two parameters I want are pre-gain and post-gain, okay? And so the way the indexes work is that the parameters start at 0. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is 2. That means 1 is going to be 1, 2 is going to be 2. It's not always going to work out that way, but here it just happens to, okay? And maybe I'll give you another example of something else here in a sec. So we do that and we save it. So that should give us, I'll just bring that down. We'll put the UI back. So just to recap, we have duplicated the file. We've renamed it. Now in this one, because I used a different method to generate the file, it's got these underscores. You don't need the underscores, but the main thing is that you take the name exactly how it is here, but without the colon. Only things that you can actually put into a file name, okay? You do that, you save it, okay? You change the widget, I guess it's called, the widget. You change the exact widget you want. You change the parameter index and any other information. If you're using the C4, you've got things like display name, so you would change the display name as well. If you're using the rotary, you know, you would just change the FX index to whatever index you're using. Save it appropriately, okay? And now you've got to kind of restart CSI. You do that by going here, double clicking that, and then just clicking OK. Everything kind of resets. Now, moment of truth. Let's see. So I've got something here. I've got an error. What does that error mean? Oh, you know why? Okay, look, this is true iron, okay? I forgot that. You also have to change the name of the file, but also here is the most important thing. And this definitely needs to be that name, including the colon. So we're going to do reinsert Kakos, colon, oops. Save it, okay? So what it's telling me is that I have the same thing defined already. I have it defined in two places, okay? So you just saw me make a mistake. You get that mistake, now you might know how to fix it. And let's go back into here, Control P, double click, hit OK. It's gonna reset. Now, these have just jumped, and let's close that. and let's see what happens. And there we go. These are working now. Now, I noticed that it doesn't go past 0, and I don't know why that is. I have no idea why that is. That is something I have to, I guess, explore. Oops. That's something I guess I have to explore. But you can see that's exactly what you would do. And I think that's about all I can do on this video. So, man, I challenge you to do 2 things. 1, find somewhere else that you can have this deep integration with your control surfaces and this customization using the combination of Reaper and CSI. Okay, so that's 1 challenge. And 2, now that you see what I'm working with, or you see what you're working with, think of some other cool things that we could do with CSI and make our lives better and make our jobs more fun and make our workflow better and make things happen quicker. You've got to go back and look at just my other videos. I know the quality is kind of up and down, but I go over a lot of specific things that I'm doing here, and I think the sky's the limit. So with that said, I bid everybody adieu. I hope you go forth and make some music and do it all with your hands instead of the keyboard and mouse, all right? Till next time, later.